Hi there. Welcome to another episode of the Natanya Experience Psych and Hip Hop. Today, we have a really special guest, a young performer named Loula Sav, who talks about what it was like to be female and Greek and coming up in an industry that didn't have a lot of people that looked and sounded and talked about the things that she talked about. So it's an interesting journey. And she had, it's taken some lumps along the way, but I'm really, really excited for you to see how strong and powerful and confident she is in her voice, in her identity, and what she shares with the world. So stay tuned. Here we go. Loula Sav. Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Natanya Experience Psych and Hip Hop. Today, I have a very, very special guest, and I welcome Loula Sav to the stage.
Hi,
Welcome. Thank
thank
you so
you.
much for joining me today. Really excited to have you with me. We're going to break down a lot of stuff today. You've had quite an interesting journey and you have a lot of exciting things going on right now. So, in our true format, we're going to start with all the good stuff. And I'd love for you to tell listeners and anyone who might come across this a little bit about you and what you're working on right
hmm
now that's got you excited.
Okay, so a little bit about me is that I am a Greek rapper. My main genres of music that I do is drill metal, trap metal, incorporated with some Greek in it. And I do have a new project out. It's called Vendetta, and it has about 8 tracks on it. It's my first EP ever that I brought out, that I came out with, and it dropped a few months ago. Um, and on top of Vendetta, I have a music video called Medusa Drill, where I actually shot and recorded it in Greece with my friends. So that was a really cool experience. And yeah.
No, that's really awesome. It's really interesting how and exciting to see how you've blended kind of worlds and styles together. That I think that's one of the things I noticed in our my little bit of pre-investigation. And come up with something that's really your own. And there are many collaborations out there, but I don't see many with Greek, at least in the US. And so that's really cool. And
Right.
you see like a lot of different influences in your work, and it's really great. Now, how long have you been, let's say, officially practicing your art as your main thing?
First got into the booth when I was 19, but I didn't start taking it seriously until like 22, 23 years old. So I would say I've been doing it for about like 4 years, consistently serious.
And what's that journey been like in terms of like how did can you like go back to that time at 19 and what it was
Mhm.
like for you when you had that first taste and what that was like for you and sort of what that became so when you shifted into kind of making it more your full-time thing?
Right. So I don't know what it was. I mean, I've always been a writer. I've been writing poetry since I was 12, and I just wanted to put it into music. And I first was a singer before I started rapping, and I kind of, over the years, became more aggressive with my style that I've kind of lost my singing voice, and I kind of now just have this aggressive, raspy rapping voice. So I put it into raps. And when I first went into the booth when I was 19, I had some people that I was hanging out with at the time. They brought me to my first studio session ever. And, the first track I did was obviously not good. It was pretty trash. And it went viral, like in Long Island, as me being one of the first young female, especially Greek white female rappers in Long Island. So it's like everyone wanted to know, like, who this person was on this song. Even though it sucked, they still wanted to know, like, who I was. And then, I got a lot of I got feedback, but most of it was hate, obviously, because, I've dealt with a lot of prejudice and a lot of racism too, me being Greek, and from Greek people and from people in the hip hop industry. And they basically told me that I'm in the wrong genre of music. What am I doing? No one's going to take me seriously. Who would even come up with like rock rap? At first, it was called punk rap, though, that I did, and rock rap. And then I was like, I actually like trap, and I like more metal hardcore than just rock. So let me do like, and then I I was like I don't care what anyone says, I was one of the first female drill rappers in Long Island because I started rapping in 2018. And then drill music obviously then was not what drill music is today. Like I was going over Bobby Shmurda beats, Rowdy Rebel beats, what was considered Brooklyn drill at the time in 2018. And then I expanded my genre into obviously every type of drill music. I do every type of drill beat, like whether it's Chicago, like even Greek drill I do. And I'm I don't care what anyone says, I'm the only Greek female drill rapper that's doing this. Anybody else that you see after me has copied me. So yeah.
Let's go back to something you just said about most of the feedback was haters, you know. You said it like,
Hmm.
you know, kind of casually. And before we filmed, you mentioned about, one of the things you're kind of proud of and helps you is the fact that you've gotten through to continue something when you're first out of the gate. Most of the feedback was quite harsh and quite negative. So you say it very calmly.
Hmm.
Can't I can only wonder about what it must have felt like though to have people um you know critique you for who you are as a
Yeah.
who you are as an artist, your, being female, being Greek,
Hmm.
all the layers of that. Like, did any of it kind of get to you, or what helped you kind of deflect that and keep going?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like when I was younger, it used to get to me because I've always, since I was in high school, I've always been the one that was like considered the outcast, but like in a like weird in a popular way because like all the girls hated me in high school because I was just always like upfront and blunt. And I never like I grew up in a neighborhood that, you're supposed to suppress your feelings. God forbid if you get into an argument, people are gonna look at you weird. You're not supposed to express yourself. You're supposed to follow every trend that you see in high school right now. So it's like I was always the odd one out. I was the one always dressing in black, with like the chains, the baggy clothes and stuff like that. And I tried to conform to like the type of style that I saw in my high school, but it's like I never liked it. And my style back then was considered ratchet. And it's so funny how everyone's trying to be that now. Dress black, piercings, tattoos, just be like real rock stars. And I've always been like a rock star, but that's why I guess like females didn't like it because I was very expressive with my style and they didn't like someone that stood out and took the shine away from them, I guess, if you want to call it that. I have no idea what it was. I guess it was also my loud personality too that was just overbearing and too much to handle. That even
Oh,
like it
for them.
was
Yeah, no, that's a common thing. I've been in that boat myself, and it was quite a few years ago compared to you, and it's not even that different, right? When you, don't go along with
yeah.
every trend and every style, you're a little, you're alive, you're bigger than life, you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of opinions, you have a lot of strength and depth to you. For some people who are still unsure of themselves, they like react really strongly to that. And it's very common in, middle school and high school times to have, I mean, all the cheesy movies aside, right? Like that is because why
Mhm.
is Mean Girls so many movies and shows? Because it is such a common thing across. It's not just a thing in the US, it's across the world, but in the US it can be quite rough. It's my understanding. So the fact that you sort of were able to dodge and deflect all of that and kind of stay yourself even before you got into the booth is probably kind of gave you that armor and that resilience to do that. But would you say within your like family or your friends, like do you feel like they're really have been supportive of you pursuing this, or has there been a struggle there?
At first, there was a really big struggle, not with friends, but with family. Like, because I went to college and I got my bachelor's degree in marketing, and I didn't even know that I wanted to do music seriously at that time, even though I was like messing around in the booth doing raps because I'm a hothead and I used it as a way to be therapeutic for me. Um, they didn't support it at first, my family. Like they didn't like it. They were like, "Oh, you went to college for this. What are you doing?" Like being a Greek girl in the rap industry, people are gonna tear you apart. People are gonna use you and abuse you because you're a pretty girl. They're gonna try to take advantage of you, get you drunk and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. I understand your concern, but it's like this is what I want to do. And even if it doesn't, if even if I don't become the most famous, I still want to do this more than a hobby. Like I consider this my real job, and then any other job I do after that is just to support my music. So it's like, And so that was a struggle with my family, and but now they're starting to see like results because I was consistent. This is the only thing I've been the most consistent with, because every other thing that like I've either like quit or been nonchalant about. But this, even my dad said, he's like, you don't stop. He's like, you keep going, even though if there's like girls that are hating on you and stuff like that. He's like, you just like don't let them get to you. And like I've had like hating, insecure mm, say about me, oh well, you're only doing this for clout. Everyone's hyping you up. You know, you're not really talented. You suck. Blah blah blah. I can't stand your music. I was like, oh, but you know about me though. You know Loula Sav though. And it's like, you're dissing me in your raps. So it's like, how relevant am I again? Oh, but you're giving me attention. Okay.
It's kind of interesting how we're starting. I mean, last night on Ryan's show, we were talking about our species and how evolved we are. And he was like, we
Hmm.
used to like cut each other's heads off and, like in the Middle Ages and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, we are, but we're also not, in terms of like, there's enough for everyone. There's enough room for everyone. So why do they have to bother? I don't, I don't know. But like you said, like they have to take time out to make a public dissing of you is like giving actually a gift,
Hmm.
right? That said, it's not nothing to have to deflect that kind of stuff a lot. It's not nothing to have to wear that, So I just want to at least recognize what you're doing is, pretty awesome, right? And pretty badass. Can I say badass? I don't know what this with this pretty badass, because you are younger and you found your footing so young and strong. And sometimes people have to go through those stumbles first and then find their footing, literally their voice, right? You were losing your voice, but you kept your ground. Um,
Hmm.
and that's really cool. I was just wondering about, within your either circle of friends or within other contemporary artists, like if you're seeing, because, we were talking about this a little bit, not to lean into what your family was talking about too much and to make assumptions. But obviously, right now, it's October 2024. In the mainstream news, there's a lot about widespread, let's just say, predatory behaviors in the industry. And not singling out one artist or another, because the reality is this is like systems, right? There's
Hmm.
people on every level, everywhere. Um, so how do you maneuver yourself such that you don't find yourself in those situations when it seems like most every female artist I talk to can tell me at least one, if not two stories of an attempted pretty bad situation or of a friend or that they experienced themselves, and that it was only after that that they were able to sort of like put up essentially a whole system in place to protect how they maneuver through things. But I was wondering what that's been like for you. Like, is that a real thing? Have you been able to sidestep it all, and how does that work?
I I don't know how to explain it. Like I definitely have had people that wanted to take advantage of me in the studio and stuff like that by either getting me high or drunk and stuff, but I've always been the type to control my I know how what my tolerance is, and I come in with that aggressive energy. I don't try to fake a high voice or something to be more attractive. I actually like acting like, not acting, but like coming off as aggressive as a dude, because it's like I'm this pretty girl, but it's just like also realize what you're messing with too, because it's like I'm not the one, and I'm not. And even though people think because of my skin tone or my complexion or my nationality that would think that I'm easygoing and quiet, but it's like, no, sorry, I'm Spartan. We're loud. So, and my family really comes from Sparta, so it's like I don't make that up. Like I will do a whole DNA test to show whoever doesn't believe me. But it's like I'm the wrong female to do that too, and it's like, especially, you have to walk into a room and let people know right off the bat that you are not one to be messed with. You cannot be easily manipulated, and you will not, even under the extreme pressures of like whatever they're offering you, it's not worth your soul or like your morals. And I've had people try to, recently, actually, this happened this year. I've had someone that was is not a credible source trying to tell me that I won't get anywhere, and because he's never seen me at any industry parties, that I must not be as big as I think I am, and that if I do go with him and whatever company he works for, which he didn't even tell me who he works for, that I will my life could change in a second. So you also have to feel people's energies too. If they get mad at you because you don't want to work with them, or you don't like something, or you ask a lot of questions and they get irritated by your questions, that's how you know it's a red flag. And I had to, like, I was trying everything under the sun, like, yo, maybe it's just in my head. Maybe this guy is not really that bad. But like, no, I literally had a gut feeling and I prayed about it. I spoke to God about it. It was like, God, like, open up my eyes about like who's for me, or if this guy's not for me, give me a sign that if I should work with him or should not. Everybody in my family was telling me not to work with him. I even went to psychics, and the psychics told me, do not work with this person. They will take advantage of you because they see you as a pretty girl, you're new in the industry, and they're going to have total control over everything you own. So I was like, yeah, I'd rather be independent and than be like well known and just be a slave to somebody else.
No, that's really incredible, and that you kinda had all those tiers of, like, confirmation, your initial intuition for yourself, like you said, those red flags, the way you come into the room, the fact that you can carry that confidence. I think it's really, and again, I wish I had more interesting words right now, but, it's a it's an admirable thing that I think hopefully other young people, or any age, can kinda look to that and see that w we can kind of have a little more control of the situation, but we have to be brave enough to sorta take it. And I was wondering about some of your early role models, because to have that quiet strength at such a young age is, and especially in an industry where that's not the norm for young women. Many more stories dominate about young women who don't come into the room like that in their first go, let's just say. So, read between the lines, right? Because they're all like, oh, overwhelmed, or trusting,
Mhm.
which, we make fun of that at the same time. Isn't that a beautiful thing that people come in with an open mind and but unfortunately,
Mhm.
where that has gone. So I was wondering about
Yeah.
maybe like role models. They could be within your family, or, in your industry or outside the industry, but like growing up, like who did you look to and say like, yeah, any like role models that you followed or like inspired you, or
Um, I looked definitely at Eminem because he was like one of the first. Can you hear me? I can't hear.
yeah,
You hear me?
yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
You can hear me? I can't hear anything. Um, so I would say Eminem because he was like one of the first white artists in the industry that got a lot of hate and a lot of backlash. But he was like, everything he's written is himself. If you try to diss Eminem, you'll be destroyed lyrically. So I really admire that. And then I also admire Cardi B because Cardi B came from a past of like, people trying to expose her and like a really like raunchy past that she's been through, and she's just doesn't care. Like there's videos out there of her and pictures out there of her, and nobody could say anything to her to try to expose her because she'll own it, she'll admit to it, and then she'll be like, okay, and what? Yeah, this was me, and what? And I was just like, that is a whole nother level of strength. Even though she does admit that it does get to her, she does admit that she cries sometimes when she reads comments, or like somebody is saying something bad about herself, her motherhood, or her kids, or her family. Like I really, really like Cardi B. So I look to up to her a lot.
Very, very cool. Um, that makes a lot of sense. And that human factor, none it also, you brought up something really cool. And again, I'm just reiterating what you're saying because it's so great about that. Doesn't mean we're not human beings and that things don't get to us sometimes. And, you can wear your armor, but that armor can be heavy. And or there
Yeah.
will be that one comment that you read or see or hear at one moment that just kind of gets through right, and pierces in right underneath or something. And so
Mhm.
that's okay. And so for you, when you do have things that get to you, whether they're a critique or just something else in life, whether it's a, another financial or romantic or whatever, like something that gets to you. Would you say, because you kind of hinted at this, but would you say that, writing and performing is like your catharsis, like your therapy, your way of expressing, and releasing?
Oh yeah, it definitely is because it's like it's really hard for me to rap about something that's fake. And it's like I've tried to over exaggerate my stories and try to over exaggerate stuff, and it's just like that's not me. So it's like I had to like cross off a bunch of stuff that I just didn't want to be putting out there. Like me, like even though I try to come up with a sexy song talking about sex, like most of these girls do, I'll say one or two things about sex in a song, but I can't make a whole song about sex because it's just like I don't, it makes me feel dirty. Like it makes me feel like I'm actually having sex when I'm talking about sex. And like I am raunchy and I am like explicit and that can be ratchet, but it's just like the amount like I know I have a balance. I know when to be like that and when the right moment is to be like that and when it's not because it's just like if a whole song is about your thing and you're bragging about it, it's just like what do you really have to offer as an artist? It's like yeah, I shake my butt too. I know how to twerk, I know how to do all of that and I do that, but I do it like really subliminally. I don't just like, here's my butt, like look at it, and I'm spreading my butt cheeks so you can see it inside. So it's like I just don't know how like some of these like other girls just like do that. It's just kind of I don't know. It
I
like scares me.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, it's evolved quite a bit. I mean, in the very early days when we were just seeing the first videos for in hip hop and rap, or even just even in metal, like in terms of like the bikini girls or the whatever, like it started in a way and it's evolved to a different place. And then now the female artists kind of, it's like taking something that was objectifying them and now controlling it and doing it yourself at the same time. It does seem like there's a lot less there's a lot less mystery left on the table. And, you finding your balance of where you feel comfortable. I'll lean into this. I'm, sex positive, all that. And you'll do, like you said, you do some of what you feel is okay, but where you feel
Mhm.
the end, it's the end.
Yeah,
That's, who can judge that?
that's definitely true.
That's your personal window, right? I think where you see people having a lot of shame and regret and compromising situations is
Mm.
where they lean into those things because they think they have to, right? More than like where they're comfortable with for them, their own self. And then that kind of gets that slippery slope, right? Around, your autonomy, your ability to decide for yourself and your body, what do you and your and your essence, your brand, like what do you want to put out there to the world, what do you want to share, and what do you want to keep private for your partner, whatever. There's like a little bit you might want to keep behind kind of thing.
Right.
And so it's just really refreshing to meet someone. And again, I don't mean to be ageist, I mean this out of respect and love. Like I love that you're so young and so strong and strong in yourself, and that was really really um just a really powerful thing. I wanted to get to know you and be able to maybe hopefully help share your exposure story and give other young people, another image of what can be. Because I just
Right.
it's, you're going to be on to big things, and we'll go back and say, remember when you came and talked to me? You won't even have time for me very, very soon.
Oh.
So many exciting things going your way. And when Ryan puts all this, and thank you to Ryan for introducing us, and puts this all together, and the rest of the team, I'm sure we're gonna, be having a little bit of you can help us pick what music to put as we wrap it all together.
Mhm.
Because the sound is so like who you are is very interesting, but also your sound is very interesting. And I think it would be really cool. I'm really about getting people who might not otherwise interact to interact or be exposed to each other, like people from high finance to, people from coming from the streets, from organized crime to, professional athletes, like mixing things up so people can kind of look at different, you never know. Like you said, your dad said, oh, you never pursued anything so consistently. And I thought to myself, well, probably because she wasn't passionate about those things. Now you're passionate
Mhm.
about it. You can't stop, right? Like you're ready to work double, triple because it's like you're finally following your calling. And so that's so awesome to hear. And, I know I didn't do that right away. So I admire and respect that in when I see someone doing it early in life, and just can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to.
Yeah. Is there anything any parting anything you want to share in terms of, I don't know, is there anything you want to share that you're excited about, and or at the end, where do you want people to find you?
Yeah, so I'm definitely excited for my new project that's coming out, which is called Medusa Drill, the music video and the single to drop, even though it's been like such a process because I recorded it in a different country and then I had to send the stems over here because it wasn't mixed the way I wanted it, and it's just like been taking months and months. But you could find me on Instagram, Loula Sav, LOULASAV, and then Lula space Sav on all music platforms. I'm on everything. So yeah.
Yay, thank you so so much. Thank you. And have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. At the Natanya Experience, we believe we can all rise above challenges, heal, and shine together. And so we give big thanks to our amazing partners who share our vision of universal health and happiness.